3, 2, 1. We back. What's up, homies? Okay, cool. So first thing that I think I want to talk about is how this time has forced us to be still. And in that stillness, I've noticed that there's a lot more connection that's happening. There's a lot more, as far as like me and my family, like I'm reaching out to my family more, FaceTiming more, connecting with friends more. And I just see that on social media, there's so many people who are just trying to share what they're going through and share what they're doing at their house.
Yes.
And even though it's excessive sometimes, it's also like kind of refreshing because we're so used to seeing people like kind of like showboat themselves on social media and showcase like all the fire stuff that they're doing in their life. But in reality, or all the work that they're doing, the money that they're making, or the stuff they just bought, or the things, you know, all that kind of stuff. Like it's kind of going out the window now because now people are like, bro, you're at your house. And if you're still posting
so
that
now
stuff,
it's beautiful that you see people posting pictures of them teaching their kids, right?
Yeah.
Or, I mean, just so much is happening on social media. I think that is positive. I'm seeing a lot of people write or take videos of themselves expressing that they're praying for the world and they're wishing that everyone is taking care of each other. People are saying, please stay home. And outside of the social media world, also, when you were going to grocery stores still, not anymore. We've been on full lockdown, but even his experience in a grocery store where people feel lighter. I mean, even if you drive by a park, if you drive by where people are out being active, because that's a lot right now because people are home, and walks are really, really good for the stress right now. So people are out walking and you feel the energy just a little bit lighter. I think that we are feeling very heavy about this, but also it feels like a sense of community because it seems like people are like, hey, we're all going through this. Like there's no one globally that is not experiencing some impact of this virus.
Yeah, and I just want to clarify, like, it's not that it feels happy-go-lucky in the grocery store at all. I think what she's talking about is I had an experience where I was walking through the grocery store, and this old man, he saw me wearing a mask, and he was wearing a mask, and we were both wearing gloves, but there were different colored gloves, and he was like, hey, young man, we're wearing the same thing. And I started cracking up, and I was like, yeah. I was like, it looks good on you. And he was like, it looks good on you. And then, like, we just, like, split. I checked out. He checked out. He did his thing, and we left. And, like, you know, I was telling Jennifer when I got home, I thought that was just so refreshing because in this time where, you know, especially you don't want to be close to people, right?
Yeah.
Like, you don't want to be around people. You don't want to, like, contaminate them or get yourself contaminated. Like, there's still like a respect and appreciation to know that, hey, you're going through it too. I'm going through it. Like people in the grocery store were like, you know, waving, like you see people driving and they're like letting you go in. It's like people are like more patient now. So I just think that's such a cool part. I think it's because
we're all just a little bit more still.
Yeah.
And also, you know, we're all fully aware of what's going on.
Sure.
And I mean, another thing that I think is arising from this that's very light is the goodness and humanity that we're seeing during this time. I know that there's so many people who have created initiatives to feed the children who have depended on school lunches.
Yeah. School bus drivers.
Yes. Yeah. You see people out there in underdeveloped areas and countries who are providing bar soaps for people. And I saw that in a little highlight on Heroes of CNN. And I think that there's so much goodness coming out of also humanity that it's important to also bring light to that and to talk about that.
Recognize it. Yeah.
Right.
And
just
applaud it.
Awareness of it, right? Like it's happening and it's beautiful. And I was telling you the other night that, you know, I wish that I could be one of those people who is out there in those underdeveloped areas helping children and, you know, risking my life and my health to help in that way. But then you quickly reminded me that I'm also impacting people from home, which is another reason why, well, the main reason why we decided to launch this podcast now during this time, to hopefully provide some sort of light, positivity to all of you during this time. And I mean, know that we're also going through it too.
Yeah,
know?
I mean, I don't think in any means we're trying to minimize what it is that people are experiencing. I just think that, you know, with the amount of information that we're getting about this virus and about the impact that it's making, it can definitely seem like the world is crumbling. And despite
100%.
that, there's a lot of people doing a lot of incredible things. I was telling Jennifer, there's just some people in our own backyard in Atlanta that are setting up hand washing stations for the homeless because luckily we all have the luxury to wash our hands every 5 minutes once we get home or have the hand sanitizer. But what about them? What are they doing? So there's people that are caring, that they're caring more than just themselves. They're going out of their way to make an impact on people. Good. And that brings me to, you know, all the incredible work that's happening in the industries that before were not as appreciated, like teachers, like educators, like the medical field. Like, of course, we always appreciated our doctors, but now, like, they're heroes. They're more important than the army. Like, at this point, they're
heroes at this point in time. They are risking their lives. They're putting themselves out there because they care about the patients. And you know what? They're struggling too, but they're still showing up. And that's so incredible.
And they're going out of their way. And I just saw this picture of a doctor who's been working in the hospital, and when he comes home, he doesn't go in his house. They have a tent in his garage because he doesn't want to go into the house and possibly spread what he's going through. So it's just like, if those people are making the sacrifices to do that so that we can, you know, stay alive with that, so that we can, you know, try and do our best with the resources that we have to keep the people okay, then man, what does that say about us? Like, you know what? Like, we have such an important responsibility to make sure that we're playing our part. You know, we're staying home and taking advantage of that time so that we're not dreading that we have to stay at home when there's other countries who are like literally checking your house to make sure you're still there. You know, so hey, we have this, different depending on where you are in the country and where you are in the state, how your government is approaching the situation. But at the end of the day, we all have this unison experience where we're in a place that we weren't before, way more than we were.
It's sudden, it's unexpected.
Yeah.
It's a huge unexpected life transition.
Shift. Yeah, this is like a paradigm shift.
It's a shift that is happening right now in all ways, and financially, in your life, for your children, right? And I also want to highlight, you mentioned educators, how I believe that parents, most importantly right now, are really appreciating and seeing the amount of hard work and effort that teachers have to put into their work.
For sure.
And teachers, I believe, are very underappreciated. But for the first time, parents are, for 1 hour sitting with their kid and they're like, whoa.
Oh, yes.
How do teachers do this?
Yeah. All day.
I mean, wow. It's incredible. But I mean, I think a lot of perspective shifts are happening, and you know what, let's get deeper. Like, talking about perspective shifts, what is really happening in our hearts? Like, what is this forcing us to do? It's forcing us to sit still. It's forcing us to slow down. I feel like, especially here in the society or where we live, it's a very fast-paced, robotic, mindless living, going from here to here to here to here, and eating and working, eating and on a phone call. And
it's like all about efficiency.
Right.
Just
it's
like
all about productivity and efficiency and success, right? But now for the first time, we're being forced to pause. And what is that bringing? It's bringing time to cook. It's bringing time to exercise if you want to.
Play in your yard, to throw the ball, to do
time
whatever.
To look at trees.
Exactly.
Time to really just breathe.
So let's start there. What have been some things that you've noticed recently that have been positive changes for you?
Okay, so, for me personally, it's the first time I experience an abundance of time. If anyone knows me who's listening to this, you know that I'm extremely work oriented. I can probably say I'm a workaholic, and I definitely get that from my father. And honestly, my entire unit, my little family is just all the same when it comes to productivity, efficiency, results, work. And for the first time, now don't get me wrong, I still have work, but for the first time, I feel such a huge weight lifted off my shoulders because I have time. I don't have to rush out of the house and not eat breakfast. And one of the small things that I've noticed that I can do, right, with all this time now is we have Gigi, and we're new parents of a little puppy who's 4 months old. When I take her out in the morning sometimes, when I take her out in the morning sometimes, I open up the door, I tell her, beep, beep, boop, boop, go do your thing. And I have to close the door immediately because the pollen comes into the house and I'm extremely allergic. But I noticed that my yoga mat is right there, like right in front of the door of the house where I take her out. So I close the door. I look at my mat. I step on it. And then I say, you know what? I want to do some yoga. I want to start my morning with some yoga. Yeah, while she's doing her thing.
I love
and
that.
if I wasn't in this quarantine, right? If I wasn't in this world of stillness right now, I'd be forcing myself. I'd probably scream at her to go do her thing and hurry up, and then probably rush to go get ready, right? All anxious, all stressed, probably rush to make a smoothie. No time to make breakfast. I mean, I'm making food now.
Legit, bro. There's meals.
What?
Like, we're cooking.
And don't get me wrong. I wish I had more time to cook in the real world. I mean, this seems like a fantasy world for me. There's a lot of suffering happening, and my heart is so heavy for that. However, there's also, I think, a huge break and pause button that the entire world needed. I think we all needed this break. I think we were all maybe on a verge of burnout. And for the first time, we have the time to be still, to appreciate nature, to stare at a tree and watch its leaves go everywhere. We have the time to step on grass and really feel the grass.
Gratitude, just appreciation. Like I was just telling Jennifer, nature, like I think the best part of this whole thing is like, you do that when you take her out, but when I take her out, I sit outside and I just sit.
Yeah, what are the positives for you?
And I hear the birds chirping. Oh, I hear the orchestra of birds outside. I hear the planes going by. I hear the wind. Like I hear the wind now. And just those small things, amazing. Like those small things. Yeah. There's this tree outside the house that's like shedding leaves, and just walking outside and hearing all these birds chirping and the leaves falling and the wind rustling through the grass, and it's just like, man, like we miss all these things because we're in the rat race. We're just always consistently moving and running and going and doing and stopping and running and calling, and it's just like, oh, like how refreshing that this is forcing us to slow down. And I'm sure for many people, you don't like this. You're uncomfortable with this stillness, but I'm really appreciating it because it's really honing in on my gratitude. Like it's really making me feel super grateful just to be alive. And in this situation too, it's like, man, how long have we taken our health for granted? Yeah. Like now we're like, bro, you can't just go to the grocery store, bro. You can't just put the gas in there, like you
can't just say, oh, I just want a margarita and some tacos. Let's just go out to eat.
You can.
Another positive from this is, honestly, I feel like we're saving so much money.
For sure.
We're saving so much money. I'm not going to TJ Maxx. I'm not going to Marshall's. And that for me is therapy.
And for me, I'm not going to Chick-fil-A and Chipotle like every day.
We're not going out to eat as often. Our health is, I think that the potential here is huge. And it can be so easy to step into the somber, dark world and be connected to the news all day, every day, and, freak out about everything, which we can. However, I think we can also make room for the light that is coming here, the connectivity that's happening with people, right? The community that we're seeing with people. For the first time, I'm seeing a lot of positivity on social media, and social media can be very detrimental, but for the first time, I'm seeing people, hey, I'm praying for you.
Look at the government. Like the government all came together for something for the first time. Like,
yes, there's community, there's union, there's people finally, I think people are finally recognizing other humans. We're finally seeing other people.
For sure.
And that's big.
And I think another thing is like, look at all these new habits that are forming,
Yeah.
right? Like how many
There's
people
time for new habits,
like,
new routines.
Exactly. How many people are like doing meditation now? How many people are practicing
cooking,
yoga? How many people
eating
are
healthier,
cooking, running, swimming, playing outside, being in the grass,
talking,
reading books,
just having
whatever.
conversations with your wife, with your spouse, with your kids.
I think that's so cool. Like I think that's such a benefit that come out of this because, you know, I really feel that in this society that we live in the States and just how it's, you know, just so capital driven, just so money and productivity and notoriety and status and like that whole thing. And like this is forcing us to like just take it to basics, bro. Like I feel like a kid again, that I can go outside and not have to worry about something going on. Like I feel like I'm like when you were in middle school and you didn't have to worry, you didn't have like significant responsibilities that you had to pay for your bills and do your stuff. And of course we're all, you know, in different ways experiencing that. But man, like look how refreshing that is that we can just take time to sit for a second.
Yeah.
You know, like make our breakfast, like make a meal,
and
clean
also,
it, like clean the dishes.
And also there's time to FaceTime our family, right?
FaceTime family, yeah.
Have conversations with family and parents and check in on your friends and what's going on?
10 minutos.
Okay. All right. Yeah, so he mentioned that because we do want to make sure that we keep these in very digestible time frames for you all, because we want to put out a lot of content and talk about real stuff, but we also believe that we can do it in a short amount of time. I don't think that we need 45 minutes to an hour to explain everything that we need to explain or just have a conversation. I think, you know, just piggybacking off that, we had this conversation and I just want to set the record straight that we are not here to tell you guys what to do with your life. We're not here to tell you what you're doing is wrong or what you're feeling is wrong, or we're not telling you how to run your life.
No, like we're not trying to tell you how to run your life. I think we really just want to talk about the things that maybe we're all thinking about and just shedding light on those. And just shedding light on those. And, you know, I hope that as the following of this increases, like the interactiveness of it increases as well. And so people are commenting and saying like, yo, this is what I felt about it. These are the habits that I'm doing. Tell us how you feel. I mean, I hope that this opens up the door for you to feel comfortable enough to be vulnerable too and say, hey, these are the positives that are going on in my life. Or, you know, we do plan on talking about topics that are a little bit heavier, such as loneliness. I mean, nobody's out here talking about loneliness because it's hard. It's kind of embarrassing to say that you're lonely. You feel lonely sometimes, but I know that now more than ever, people are feeling lonely, even if they are surrounded by people. And that's something to talk about. That's something that we need to shed light on. And I hope that our words and vulnerability and our casual conversation in the living room right now can allow you to feel the opportunity or feel called to also share, hey, I feel lonely too. And this is when I feel lonely. And this is how it makes me feel. And us having these conversations is what's going to allow us to destigmatize it and allow people to feel like they're not alone. And we were just reading some quotes the other day, and I love this one about vulnerability, that it says, vulnerability is the first thing we look for in people to build connection, but it's the last thing that we want to give up.
Oh.
And I think that
because it's the hardest.
It's so hard. It's hard because it's not.
It's uncomfortable.
It's stigma. Like there's such a stigma around like not being okay. Like why? Like bro, we're not robots. You know what I'm saying?
But also, you know, there's the societal mass, right? There's the professionalism that we have to keep up with. And then that does not really allow us to be vulnerable and to take off the mask and say how we really feel, because there are certain standards that we have to live by. But this is why we're here, not because we are rebellious and we're trying to, you know, talk about anything and everything. But you know what? We want to share our vulnerability with the world and see what happens.
Amen.
And with that, I think it's a good way to end this second episode.
It's been real. Hope everyone's staying safe out there. Stay at home if you can.
Stay home.
Protect your family. Call your peoples. Tell people you care about them. Tell them you love them. Start a text.
Check in on your friends.
Jennifer sent some money to some friends today, like $10 or something, so they could buy a book. Like, dude, share it. Show people you care. Do little acts. You know, it doesn't have to be money related, but I think that now more than ever, people are noticing who's contacting them and who's reaching out to them.
Yeah.
And so if there's someone that's on your spirit that you feel like you need to be reaching out to,
someone that's on your heart,
reach out to them, dude.
Maybe
Reach out to
someone
them.
that you've been wanting to make up with for years. And
Life's too short, man. Life's too short.
Now is the time.
All right, people.
All right, guys. Thank you for
next
tuning
one.
in.
Holla.
Bye.
Peace.
I was about to wave.